We are at DigiPad version 0.5. So this is more of a deep dive into the new features that are in it. So let's go right into it because this is going to be pretty in-depth. So the setup button right now goes into this beats per minute or tap tempo controller view, and it's pretty cool for any Dawless jamming because you can control the tempo now in a way maybe you don't have access to the tap tempo feature, or if you don't like hitting function and tap tempo to do that, or maybe you don't like that you have to hit tap tempo 4 times to set the tempo. This gives you a nice alternative, and it basically sets a master clock that goes out to all your devices. So if you have MIDI out to other devices, this can control them all from your Launchpad Pro. So this is a new area. Now I'm going to explain the new tap tempo features a little bit more because it's a little bit different than any tap tempo I've ever known of. I call it the one tap tempo, and how it functions is just by pressing and releasing, you're setting the tempo. So you can take out that 4 tap tempo or even the 3 tap tempo and reduce it all down to one action to set your tempo. I think this can be a great improvement for a live workflow when you have to change the tempo fast. So again, when you press and release, that sets the tempo. So what you would do is you think about the type of drum beat where it's the bass drum and snare, the distance between that, and that's, so it's like the length of a quarter note is what you're tapping, and that sets the tempo for you. So it takes a little bit of getting used to, but once you have it, it can be a real improvement to how you do things live. And quicker, more live, it's pretty interesting. And then again, these buttons lower and raise the tempo as you go. They're slightly bigger increments than I was hoping, so we might adjust that next time. Raise and lower the tempo with these buttons. A nice new feature I added, I didn't mention in the teaser video, is some new sliders. So in this mode where we have the volume sliders, we had a filter cutoff on this one, and now we have the bit reduction. 8 channels of bit reduction control all right here, so you could tweak all 8 on one screen. Another cool feature was the ability to assign sample slots on one track. The new feature is this one where you get to assign sample slots to each of the 8 tracks, and so this gives you way more control. So say you set up a drum beat that fully utilizes each 8 tracks, you can now change the samples on each of those tracks in a very controlled and really cool way, so you can mutate the beat. Let's try that. Alright, and I've saved the best for last. The biggest new feature to be added to DigiPad is right in here, this red button. You haven't seen it before. This pad right here triggers a whole new level of functionality in my custom firmware for the Launchpad Pro. This is pretty cool. It's a little more simple, but it's the evil stepbrother of UniFORK, And so what I've called it is UniFORK, and it kind of does the opposite of polyfork in a cool way. So just to recap what polyfork did, you turn it on here and turn it off there. And when you turn that on, you could take a mode like the piano or keyboard mode and split if you were playing chords. And on the Digitakt, it will send out each of those to different channels. You see it right here. 1, 2, 3, and so on. You can trigger even more. So that's a powerful feature that adds some functionality if you want to use the Digitakt a little bit more for a melodic device instead of just monophonic synths. Now this is the other way, and what UniFORK will do is it sends the same channel note informations out to each channel that you specify. So what's that going to do for you? Right now I've got 5 channels set up with the same exact tone, and so if you just did that, it wouldn't be very interesting. It'd be like a really thick unison but nothing much else. But you can, because this is a sampler, you can assign anything to any of these tracks to create a thick mono synth of all sorts of things that you couldn't even do necessarily with a full analog synth. You could throw some samples on one track, you could throw some simple waveforms on others, and so you can make something really thick. So let's try that out really quick. So because of all the control you have on each track in the Digitakt, you can do all sorts of crazy things in here and make a really thick bass line or lead line to go over your drum sound. So just some example. That is UniFORK, and it is super cool for doing more new things with your Digitakt. When you utilize the UniFORK and say it's going out to 4 tracks here, one really nice thing about that is it will, if you're recording live, doing the live record, I'm not going to do it now, but if you do the live record with that, it will actually record on all 4 of those tracks exactly the same thing. So that's cool in the sense that you can take what you did and manipulate each of those further in different ways with parameter locks. And so you could take each of those unison lines that you've created but do all sorts of articulation and cool filter tweaks, LFO tweaks, great stuff after you've created the line. And it's actually a helpful workflow thing because you've saved a few steps having to even copy those parts. Okay, let's just do one more demo of the UniFORK. Here's just a basic setup I have here with 1 through 4 being different samples, so you can see how different tones can stack in cool ways with UniFORK. If you think any of this functionality could be helpful to you, there's so many modes in here that I've developed for your jamming pleasure. You know, please sign up on Patreon as a patron, and so you can get this and a bunch of other cool music stuff.